Hi, this is Paul LaFontaine, host of the CNQ podcast. I'm taking the time to introduce this video because, first of all, it's the first of what I hope is a series, and that is members of the class who run a core squad team. And in this, we highlight the baseball team. Jon Reinebold very graciously put together the group. He was an affable host and drove much of the conversation with his wit and witticisms, and my technology failed, and Jon's feed sadly did not come through. Therefore, we have everyone but Jon's feed. Jon and I did a make good recording, and I inserted him into the podcast. So what you might see on occasion are some rough transitions and some odd reactions, and that's just simply Jon being re-recorded and put in, though we were able to share all of Jon's stories successfully. So if you will set aside the unusually clunky nature of the limitation of my own ability to edit and listen to the enjoyable conversation that I had with the baseball team, you'll get a sense for the camaraderie of a group that anecdotally turned the baseball program around all those years ago. And now to the baseball team. Jon, Lawrence, Mike, and Karl, welcome to the CNQ podcast.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks,
Great
Paul.
to
It is my honor and pleasure today to have 1986 members of the baseball team. We're leading off with the core squad wing of this podcast with the baseball team. So it's fantastic to have you guys on here.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, great to be on.
So let's just run through where everyone's at. So Mike, you're in Massachusetts. You're back home in Reading.
Back home in Reading, yeah.
Karl, you're back home in New Jersey, I guess would be the way to say it. How close are you to where you grew up?
Actually, I am not. I was in Jersey for about 25 years, raised the kids there, but moved down to Delaware in 2018. So I'm living in Newark, Delaware, not far from the University of Delaware.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. And what took you there, just out of curiosity?
Work. I was supporting the Army out of Fort Monmouth, and when they bracked Monmouth and pushed it down to Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, I moved down to a nicer area. It's not so nice down by the military post in Aberdeen, but love it here in Delaware.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Lawrence, you are in Italy. What is the story, my friend?
I am in Naples. I feel like I'm behind enemy lines. I'm working for the other service here in Naples. So always have fun, like the week before Army Navy here, but this year after the game wasn't so much fun.
Yeah.
My wife and I are here. We both are currently working for the Navy. Probably be here another couple years before we head back to Pennsylvania.
There you go. So, Jon, you're in Hawaii.
Yes, nice and warm today. That's why I got this sweatshirt on. It's in the 60s this morning.
It's 10 degrees in Massachusetts. Oh.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
How did I end up here? Who are those old men you're
What's going on? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike
Scanlin.
Scanlin.
These old men to this conversation,
Holy
man.
shit.
You and I are looking great, but
Who threw a fastball? Scanlin showing up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Scanlin's on the program. Which, if I look at his howitzer, it said he had Hollywood looks.
No, that was a lie. I think started by Terry Finley, who authored that little snippet for me. Yeah,
a lot of nonsense comes out of Finley. I'm tracking down. I go and look up a lot of nonsense that happened back in the day. A lot of it comes from Finley. So, Mike, where are you at now?
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh, North Carolina. What's the temperature there? We're just comparing temperatures.
It's like 37 degrees today. So this is like our brief stint of winter down here.
Yeah. I'm in South Carolina. It was 37 here, and Reinebold was complaining he has a sweatshirt on because it's 70 degrees in Hawaii.
Riney, come on.
Sweatshirt and flip-flops, no doubt.
There you go.
Yeah, no doubt. And surfboard somewhere in the vicinity. Yeah.
So before we take off, we have to actually acknowledge our other classmates who, this is not by any means a full representation of all the classmates who are on the baseball team. So Parker King, for example, was on the team. Who else was on the team that we don't have on with us today?
Scotty
Donaldson, yep.
Cristiano.
Okay.
Chris Schiavo, the dancing bear, yeah.
Dancing bear.
Mark Ledoux.
Mark Ledoux, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Jeff Weston.
Okay. Yeah, we were Parker.
How'd we get
right? So the only
Parker, for sure, yeah. Holy cow!
scheduler, right? So it's a scheduling error on my
A couple
part.
years
So
have
there you
gone
go.
under the bridge.
35.
Huh?
Yeah, a few years. So 35 games first year. You beat Navy twice. What's the deal there? How did that season end up with it? Did you guys look at beating Navy as like the only mission, or did you have a broader mission there at the baseball team? Because in football, if we
We
beat
just wanted to
Navy,
win.
that's it, right?
We just wanted to win because we had lost for 3 years. Going into our senior year, finally,
Right.
had a chance to win. We just wanted to win.
Yeah, we hadn't been successful against Navy our first 3 years.
No.
And actually our senior year, the year started great. We were like 13-2. We really played well. And with our class, the Cal class of that year, Tommy Casino, Eric Everton, some of those guys, we had a really good club. We got into conference play, was a little more challenging. So when we beat Navy in that doubleheader, I was at home that year. We beat them.
Yeah.
That really was the crowning jewel for us that year. We finally did that and ended up with a real positive season.
Now, was there any other team you guys hated? Like, of course, Navy forces, it's kind of a forcing function because Army Navy, but was there any other team that was kind of a rival?
I just remember the games we had with New York Tech. I hated them.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I just looked at the score of that final game. It was like 17-4. It was our last game of the season.
Is that New York Tech?
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
And what was it about New York Tech that inspired such a rivalry?
Wasn't it that one guy that just hit home run after home run after home run?
Oh my goodness!
Bang, bang, bang.
I think he hit 4 off of me that day. That's got to be a record somewhere. Who's ever given up 4 dingers?
I know he hit one of the tennis courts at home.
So
yeah, I know. We played them. I think we played them every fall, and then we played them a couple times in the spring. So
yeah.
I think it was just familiarity and all the times we played them.
Yeah.
And again, our first 3 years, we weren't as successful as we could have been, and I think they beat us up pretty well.
Yeah. So talk about when you guys arrived. Did you size each other up? How did that work? Because you kind of show up, and then Lawrence, I know you have a special a story about how you came to the team. But did you when did you all first meet each other?
Like Taps, didn't you and I during Beast, putting the plebes through their tryout and everything? That's how we were.
Yeah, remember when we had
too.
to do intramurals during Beast and the course squad guys went off with their teams? Right. I think that's when at least Riney, Mike, myself, and Lawrence met during that period of time.
During the yeah.
No, the only reason
I don't think I knew anybody during Beast, but I distinctly remember at some point hearing an announcement over the poop deck and saying, "Hey, anybody interested in trying out for Army baseball team? Come out to the baseball field whenever that was." And I just remember that night going down to the basement of the barracks, right? Standing in line, reading the bugle notes, waiting to talk to mom and dad. "Hey, they play baseball here. Send my spikes and glove."
Now,
Lawrence, I went out, whatever.
Not to call you out here, brother, but how did you miss that fact? Like going in, is it?
Well, I was a little clueless on a lot of things. I had no idea Army football was West Point football. I thought it was a bunch of soldiers playing football.
We'll give you a pass on that. It was pre-internet.
Yeah.
Where'd you think you were going to school?
Some engineering school, right?
So talk about your recruiting. I'd love to hear about your recruiting journey prior to West Point. So we've got one Californian, one from Indiana, and the rest from the Northeast. Taps, how did you were you contacted by the academy? How did that work?
Yeah, it was sometime during my junior year, actually. I don't know how I got connected, but all of a sudden I heard Permakoff, Coach Bill Permakoff was our head coach when we entered, was coming down to watch us play. We were playing, I went to Brick High School, we were playing Jackson Township, and he came over to the field and I met him there. And my dad was always a military-minded guy, being in the state police in New Jersey, so he always had West Point on the mind, and I did all right in school academically. So, and then I went up to visit. I spent some time with Batman, Kevin Batul. Some of you guys remember him.
Yep.
And then in Beast Barrack, he kicked my butt on the bugle, or what is it, the pugil stick course. He beat my ass on the pugil stick course too. But I visited. He toured me around, and I applied, and here it is. So yeah.
Okay. Talk about your recruiting journey from high school to West Point.
Well, I was recruited by Army. I had a paid trip where they sent me out there. Also, I was basically between there, Navy, and Notre Dame. Didn't want to go to Notre Dame, hometown school. Wanted to get the heck away from home. Typical 18-year-old or 17-year-old. But Coach Permakoff had recruited me, so I went out there, and just once you see the place, it's one of those things that kind of grabs you.
Did you ever seriously consider Navy?
I did. I went and visited both places.
Yeah. Mike Spurr, how about you?
My high school coach reached out to the coaches, and they called me and brought me up because I stayed with Mike Brown when I was there. So they reached out and just worked out that I made the team and went forward.
So what did you think of the military thing when you were there? Was it a brand new thing, or did you?
No, my dad was in the Army. He was a short stint in the Army, and my friend was applying, and everybody was giving him a whole lot of attention. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll look at that. And then it ended up being, I got into it and got real interested, and that's why I really, started applying.
Okay. Mike Scanlin, you were from Connecticut, so nearby. How did you get in contact with us?
So I was kind of done with baseball coming out of high school, and I actually wanted to play football at Army. That didn't work out, and it wasn't until senior year, and to this day, it's because of Karl Tappert, right? So we're in Beast Barracks together. Like Taps, you think Coach Roberts can let me? During Beast Barracks, when you're leading all the plebes out to their respective core squad of activities and so on. So I went with Taps, and I said, "Do you think he'll let me try out, walk on as a senior?" And he said, "I don't know, let's give it a shot." And so we went out there, and Taps is like, "Hey, Coach Roberts, Mike wants to try out," and Coach Roberts is like, "Yeah, he can, throw the ball around, and while the plebes are practicing." And Taps is like, "No, Coach, he wants to actually try out for the team." It's like, "Oh, well," and so that's how it worked out. I mean, I was just blessed to be in the dugout with these guys, and it was that was kind of the highlight of my senior year, if not my 4 years.
But you walked on as a senior.
Yeah.
Just for the kids at home. D1 school, this guy walks on as a senior and makes the team.
So I gotta say, Paul, too, that senior year, Scans walked on. Chris Schiavo left the football team and sort of walked on. And you talk about two guys that just complemented the entire team. Regardless, coming on late, how much they played, it didn't matter. It was just environment, atmosphere, camaraderie. They were such a huge addition. It was fantastic.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I was blessed to be part of this group, so yeah, it was great.
So Lawrence, you had your dad send your cleats and glove, but you were part of a process. You weren't like Mike Scanlin. You actually were part of the tryout process. You were walk on essentially. Everyone was, as a plebe, right?
Yeah. So I'm thinking of a funny story, I guess, when you guys remember the physical you had to go through to enter. I remember, going to UCLA.
On the basketball from your knees. Yeah.
So I go to UCLA and I meet Splinter there for the first time. I had no idea who he was, right? He's got a brother, Wood, who's a senior at West Point, and Splinter, the younger brother, is, getting ready to go into the academy. And you guys know what a physical specimen I was coming in as a freshman, right? 157 pounds. And
all muscle, though, Lawrence. All muscle. Come on now.
I think he knocked out like 85 push-ups and 20 pull-ups, and I think I did 2 pull-ups and maybe 18 push-ups, right? And Yeah, so just no idea. I remember a tryout, after the announcement, and there were a bunch of gloves on the ground. Hey, take one of these gloves. You can use one of these gloves for the first few days. And I think I remember like a few day process where we went from, I don't know how many were out there the first day, 60 or 80, right? Anybody who had ever played Little League, it seemed like, thought they had a chance at walking on and making the team. And so I think over the course of a few days, it was whittled down to just a group of a few guys that ultimately got a chance in the fall to
Yeah, yeah.
play up
Now
on the
you were a
team.
pitcher, right?
And in that year,
I'm deducing.
yeah, well, no, I
He
started
started out
out,
as a shortstop.
yeah, at shortstop for the first 2 years. Didn't become a pitcher until the junior year. But I remember, and you guys, I'm sure remember too. We had two teams, right? We had our team, the varsity team, and we also had a JV club. So we had in excess of 40, 50 guys that played baseball between the two teams.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then, so how do you go from being a shortstop to just, okay, try pitcher? There's got to be a little bit more to the story than that, right?
Well, yeah, growing up, I had pitched all the time. I had played both shortstop and
Yeah.
pitcher. So I think I had the arm, although, I didn't blow anybody away on the mound, right? we had guys that could throw, pretty hard, but I wasn't one of them. It was all about control and finesse and having multiple pitches. So I think I was always capable. But, first couple of years at shortstop, uh, I think I did fine, but I didn't have all the tools that you look for in somebody. And so Karl mentioned Juice, Eric Everton. We called him Juice for EE. But he came in as a freshman and he had all the tools at shortstop. So it
Right.
was logical for him step in, and I moved then to pitching.
Yeah, but Lawrence, you got to be fair to yourself. If you didn't have any tools at all, the guy from New York Tech would have had 7 homers versus 4.
Yeah, that's right.
So I have the very good fortune of having a close friend from high school who's a notable sports writer, and so I reached out to him, and I said, "Hey, I'm talking to guys from the baseball team, and he interviews professional athletes and stuff." I said, "What would you ask him?" So he we brainstormed a little bit, but he said when you guys were playing, he played at Cal when you guys were at Army, so he said it was like just getting up and getting the ball in play when you were a batter was all that mattered back then, right? So just getting a hit, getting the ball in play. So he said that the 3 true system hadn't really been invented back then, and the money ball and all the statistics and stuff. So he said the question he would ask is, what if you went up to Coach Roberts and said, "Coach, I've done the math. I'm using the 3 true system. You need to just chill out if I strike out." How would he have reacted?
He'd tell you, sit down.
Just look at all the pictures of Coach Roberts in our howitzer.
Yeah.
There's not a smile on his face in any of them. So
It really is
that gives an
notable.
indication.
The pattern is noticeable. What's up with Coach Roberts? He was a pretty understanding guy, pretty chilled. Yeah. So Coach Roberts never smiled. John, what do you make of Coach Roberts and his serious demeanor?
I don't think he was a guy that never smiled. He just had a little bit different sense of humor. He actually made the game fun to play again. And I'm not going to talk bad about the previous coach, but Coach Roberts made it fun to play again. It was a good time playing for him.
Yeah, that was yes.
Yeah,
I heard that phrase
I have
come
a
from
similar
his mouth a
story
number of times.
where I hit a ball. The furthest I ever did, it hit the 375 sign. I never hit a home run. Never hit a home run. Got to third base, and Coach Roberts goes, "Mike, I was rooting for you." And then he said, "Nah, I wasn't, because then you'd think you could jack, and I'd have to fucking bench you." Because there's no way I was supposed to hit. I mean, that was the farthest I'd hit a ball, the 375 sign. Never got it out.
Right.
I remember at one occasion. This is my one of my recollections of Coach Roberts. So, and remember, his father is a Hall of Fame pitcher, Robin Roberts, right? And he was in the minor leagues, got hurt, and became a coach. So I remember, I don't know who was with us. It might have been a couple of us, but he looks at us and he goes, "Guys, you're a nice group of ball players, but there are 5 tools and you all are missing at least one of them. That's why you're here." So he knew and we knew.
Yeah.
So now we had to overcome our loss of tool with our motivation and our
Right.
dedication and hard work.
But that's why we worked as a team, because everybody had a job and they did it. It's like, the do your job mantra has been around for 40, 50 years. We did it.
Now, guys,
It worked.
if you remember, he was actually on active duty, right? So,
Is that right?
what rank did he hold? He was like E6,
Staff sergeant.
He's an
E7.
E6. He was an
E6.
E6.
Staff
So
sergeant, yeah.
here you have an E6, professionally developing this group of young men to become officers. I thought it was outstanding to get his perspective on life.
He had played with the Oakland A's at one time, I think, or in their system, right? Shape?
Was he in there too?
I think he did,
so.
yeah.
Shape, yeah.
So what was the
But
state of?
obviously,
And
Coach,
my friend
Coach Roberts had the pedigree, right? I'm sure his resume looked good for a baseball background.
So my friend's question is interesting because there's so much, so statistically based, and there's so much, they get filmed now, and one of the ideas that I was brainstorming with Reine was maybe getting some of the old statistics, but they're just not around anymore. What was the state of the technology back then in terms of developing the team and your skills? How'd you guys do that? I played baseball same years you did, but I stopped in high school. But I mean, it was just basically you go and took rounders, right? There was no like watching film or any of that stuff. Right?
Repetition.
No, we had video. We had a batting cage with video, and that was starting to get used.
Did all that, yeah.
We had a strength training, and we did strength training. Had the strength training guys have us in the gym, so there was, not like there is in other programs today. But yeah, we did. Yeah, no, we did it a few times with the strength and conditioning team. A couple of guys would take us in, and we did a lot of circuit work.
Yeah. Well, to this day.
But when you talk about technology, I remember, if you go look up at the facilities now, or even 10 years ago, like when my son was up there around 2010, the baseball facilities are incredible.
Yeah.
I remember through the first couple of years, and this might have been my own laziness, but I don't remember us doing any extra hitting like off cycle outside of practice. And then I don't know if it was junior or senior year, Coach Roberts put a batting cage up in the Arvin gym, and we were able to go in there off hours and take some extra swings. I think that contributed to our ability to do better our last couple years. But early on, we didn't have, I would say, the greatest facilities. Definitely didn't have indoor facilities to go work at that I recall.
In the Permakoff era, weren't you guys running the APFT every day anyways?
Yeah.
I think we could have rivaled
track team.
We could have rivaled the indoor track team, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, and Ferrier ran too.
So what was the context?
Yeah, Mike Ferrier, we tried to break the 5 minutes.
You had to break to make the team. You had to break 6 minutes.
You had to break a 6 minute, but we wanted to do a 5 minute.
And that was just on the merits. Just wanted to do 5 minutes just for the sake of it, or
I just wanted to break 5 minutes, and the coach wanted us to.
So how did that work with the junior varsity and varsity? Did you you started at the junior varsity level and you made varsity as you made it, or how did that even work? Was there?
I started and then went back and forth freshman year. But most of it, but most of it JV, but went back and forth, came up to varsity with the freshman year, and then after that I was up.
And then the yearly year you were up. And how about the rest of you?
So I started on the varsity. I'll say fortunate, but I came into West Point as a third baseman and got moved over to first base. And then you guys probably remember Pete Foster was a firstie when we got there. One of the biggest guys I've ever seen in my life.
He had 3 home runs in a game.
He had 4 home runs in a doubleheader.
4 in a row. Yeah.
Unbelievable. But he got hurt. So I actually started playing right away. He got hurt over the winter. So I ended up playing our plebe year in the spring. I played some in the fall too, but mostly in the spring because he got hurt. So I was fortunate enough to be able to play on the varsity all 4 years.
And then how about Mike Scanlin? How about you? Oh, you first year. Okay, got it. We've already covered that off. Huh? Yeah. And Lawrence, you walk on. How did that work for you in terms of your career there?
Yeah, I mean, starting in the fall as a plebe, I don't think any playing time. What did we play? Maybe 20 games in the fall. I think they were all home games, right?
Yeah.
And then like a 45 game spring schedule. And the spring schedule always started with a trip down to Florida,
Right.
or at least 3 of the 4 years we went to Florida, 1 year out to San Diego.
San Diego.
So during that spring trip, I know our shortstop, Frank Hall, for whatever reason, either he had a bad game or two, but sometime during that first spring trip to Florida, the coach gave me an opportunity to play shortstop, and picked it up, and started and played the rest of the first 2 seasons there before switching over to pitching.
Was that your position in high school?
Shortstop and pitcher.
Shortstop and
yeah.
pitcher. Okay.
Yeah.
And Ryan, you were a second baseman because we've talked before this, and you went on to be. I tell you, Ryan, you must have a friend at the howitzer department because every picture is of you. They've even got Spurr's name on one of your pictures. Have you guys ever?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Good point.
They have a minimum
That's a good
standard.
point.
It's like the 6-minute standard. It's a minimum photographic standard. So Reinebold's in all the pictures. Although Karl Taps is in several of them, so that first base got him some press there. But I don't know. Spurr got his name on one, but it clearly says 25 on there, and you're sliding into home, and it says Mike Spurr slides into home.
Well, I wasn't really still
I don't
home,
want to
so-
cause any scandal, but you guys might need to sort that out.
No
Oh, there
worries.
is a legitimate one of Mike. You getting a hit. There, you hitting the ball and everything. It says a solid liner to left
Yeah,
field.
solid single. Was that against the? Yeah, I can't remember.
Okay. So that's legit because you can actually look at the facial features and say that's. But the
Watching
other
me,
one,
yeah.
the staff there really gave you a freebie on that one.
Oh, yeah.
So you had mentors when you were plebes and yearlings, but then there was a tragedy. Talk a little bit about the folks who brought you on and kind of the impact of that tragedy that year.
Yeah. So when I was in Beast, my squad leader, I think it was second, maybe it was first. Hold on. When I was in Beast, my squad leader was Dave Cesare, who was also the starting second baseman. He was a senior, obviously. So Dave kind of took me in. He knew I was a recruited athlete. He was actually my table commandant too. So I was one of the few guys that actually ate. We had a chance to eat at my table. It wasn't just me. I actually gained weight during Beast. But Dave took me under his wing. Great guy. Sadly, he got killed in a car accident when we were in season. Actually, it was the start of the season, my freshman year. He got killed, and that kind of thrust me into having to play every day, which was a tough thing to do. It really was emotionally because,
Right.
I looked up to Dave. He treated me well. He treated me fair, and his death, it just left kind of a hole in the whole season. He was going to be an aviator too. I mean, that was his thing, and I was I was an aviator too. So, great guy, really, really impactful person. Just sad that he never got to see graduation.
I'm always trying to keep my weight up still.
Now, Taps, how when you came in, did you lose weight? Did you gain weight? What was your deal when you came in?
Yeah, I lost weight in Beast. I came in at about, I guess, 190. I was down to about 175 out of Beast. Fortunately, back in those days, we were on tables right away all year long.
Right.
So as soon as we got into the academic year, we got onto tables. We were able to eat, and things sort of normalized out. And I didn't really gain any size or muscle till probably yearling year. And then, I being in the gym and eating right was helpful for me. Yeah.
Now what was your position in high school versus you told a story about going to first base. What were you in high school?
So I came in as a third baseman, and I was a pitcher in high school. I did all right through high school, both of those. They asked me if I wanted to pitch. I said, no, thank you. I want to hit. I always wanted to hit. So through the Beast and into the fall, I don't remember really why it happened, but Mark Kelland, you might remember him. He was a yearling when we entered. He was the third baseman and was aligned to start. And I think when they didn't have a backup first baseman, they moved me over in the fall to back up Pete Foster. And then again, he got hurt over the winter. He blew his knee out over the winter.
Right.
and I ended up playing our freshman year in the spring at first.
That's pretty amazing, though. I mean, the adjustment of going from the other side of the diamond to first base. I mean, that's obviously you're a good athlete. You all five are, but that's a big adjustment, right? In college ball, you become a first baseman.
It is, but if you ask our two middle infielders, they'll tell you I was a terrible infielder.
Yeah, but you saved our ass at first base. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You saved me a lot of times.
Right.
With
No,
bad
but
throws.
Carl, you could really slap the leather down, though. I remember.
No, we'll talk about Brown then. Iron Tag Tappert.
Yeah.
Iron Tag Tappert after the Brown
What's the
fight.
story there?
He got one.
Well, so
What happened?
After
A guy from Massachusetts, Plansky, 6'8", was going back to third base in a rundown, and Juice was playing third. Now Juice wasn't 6'8", but he was jacked, and he hit Juice and knocked him back, and Juice just came right back from being knocked back and cracked the guy's helmet with a fist, and it was game on. Here comes the dancing bear from the bullpen, knocking the guys out.
That's
And
right.
then Iron Tag Tappert, after it was all said and done, there's a guy at first, and somebody had a pickoff move and taps, bam, like that.
Really?
I'm like, oh, timeout,
Really?
I tended to on pickoff throws. I tended to slap tag pretty hard. I remember
You saw Iron Tag. That was
we were in Florida. We were playing Creighton once, and I hit this guy in the head twice with the ball in the webbing, and their dugout just about emptied on us.
He entered concussion protocol after that.
Yeah.
Okay. So for folks in Delaware, pickup game of softball, look out. This guy's a
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just be warned ahead of time. You don't come off as that kind of guy, but now I see it. I see it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, baseball team, hard partying, kind of serious about stuff, middle of the road. What was the culture there around when you had a few hours off, not training?
we were playing the next day. We weren't partying.
Yeah,
I think we were pretty good about that.
it's the nature of the sport, right?
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We just get him to get. He's the one going to write the memoir. You guys can remember it.
I think we were pretty serious about baseball, especially that senior year,
Yeah.
And I think we were pretty disciplined. Were there times off season? I remember I lived down the shore, and Ski lived in the town next door. So guys would come down. You go to the Jersey Shore establishments and have a good time. But I don't recall us ever doing anything too extreme. And during the season, we were pretty straight.
Yeah,
We're pretty disciplined.
So that really came from you guys then, right? In terms of the culture around that.
Yeah, I think Coach Roberts commented on that a couple times about the fact that our senior class we wanted it bad, and that's why we had the success, because we'd had crap for 3 years and we wanted it bad, and so he loved our class. He said, if I asked you guys to run through a brick wall, I know you guys would run through a brick wall. And it's true.
And how do those 3 years impact that? I mean, 3 years of pretty tough seasons and tough outcomes. You guys simmer with a little bit of anger, or how did you guys? What was it like to? I'm just curious, because you talk about teams and how they come together. Did you guys put a program together? How'd you handle it, junior year when you were looking at another tough season coming out of for senior year? Or you just played?
Well, the coaching change was big.
What happened?
Permakoff left, and got fired, and Dan Roberts took the job over, and that was huge for us, because he was the assistant, loving, taking care of all of us. At least me, and so it was a game changer.
That's it. What changed when the coaching changed?
I don't know. I mean, Dan was a rough guy, but he was understanding. He didn't yell for the sake of yelling. If he gave it to you, you deserved it.
Fair enough. Talk about the coaching change. When did that exactly happen, and was it only your first year, or what happened there?
Well, I don't remember if it was first year, junior year. I think it was first year.
Okay.
Coach Permakoff was let go for performance. He didn't do anything wrong, as a person. It was a performance thing. Then Coach Roberts came in, and it was new life to the program. a new optimism. Everybody seemed to enjoy the game a lot more. It was a fun time. It was a needed change, one that actually I think it really started the change in Army baseball, because we had a really good season that senior season, and then from then on, I mean, it's been nonstop. I think they've won like 5 straight Patriot championships now. I mean, there's 30 years in between, but baseball just started on the rise at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Schiavo brought that football mentality. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think that our first 2 years, well, our plebe year with the tragedy that happened over the winter, and the team hadn't been really successful the years before we got there. I think there was pressure on the coaching staff. Our yearling year, we did not play well. We did not do well. And then they made the coaching change. And I think it was a pure environment change. Dan Roberts brought in a whole different environment and a whole different mindset. And I think through that year, we realized with our class and the class of 87, which had some great players that were part of that 86 team as yearlings, I think we saw that there could be something special. And I think, fortunately, we were able to put it together with Coach Roberts as our leader into our senior year.
I mean, I knew a lot of you guys before the senior year. I mean, Taps and I were together since Buckner, basically, same Wild West Battalion in 4th Reg. And so I would, chat periodically. Hey, I knew there was kind of a cloud over the baseball team. It felt like it anyways with Permakoff. And so that was one of the reasons why, I'm like, I don't know that I want to, give it a go earlier. And then, once Coach Roberts took over, I was like, well, let me give it a shot. All the guys are speaking very positively about him. And the fact that he even gave me a shot as a senior, not having played competitively in 4 years. I mean, that in and of itself kind of speaks to the kind of guy he was. And it was, just an incredible opportunity. And it was just an incredible moment, I think. Because like they said before, we started off the season almost like unbeatable. I mean, we're beating Maine in doubleheaders, and Maine at the time was, yeah. And obviously we stumbled as the season went on, but we stayed close and always, a mixture of encouragement and just, razzing each other in a not a negative way, but just kind of keeping it light, to where the stress of winning, never became all consuming. Regardless of the outcome, we're going to get through it as a team, and I think that's because of these guys here.
And I think the hiring of Steve Farley as assistant coach, focused on pitching, really added a lot to the program too.
Yeah.
He brought a ton of structure and was a great developer of talent, at least from a pitching perspective. So that really helped us too.
Yeah.
Conditioning too. He was big into the conditioning.
Yeah.
He showed us a lot of good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Remember the jump rope? I loved the jump rope before practice in the wintertime. That was awesome.
Almost as fun as those Monday afternoon mile runs inside the field house, right? Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. I never knew you could play baseball inside a field house. Growing up in Southern California, when we first went into the field house to take full infield, outfield, or to hit into the big screens or to pitch off of a wooden constructed mound, these things were all new to me.
Concept.
What, we're playing baseball indoors in January and February, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah. For you, right? Because what area of LA? Cypress is. What is that considered? What part of LA?
Yeah, Orange County.
You're in Orange County. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
talk about the field house and boxed lunches.
We practiced in the winter in the field house because there was no place for us to practice, and we were last priority because basketball. I think women's basketball practiced down there,
Yeah.
Some other people practiced down there, and basketball probably even practiced down there. Come to think of it, so we were last priority. So we had to practice when everybody else was in dinner. So every night we had those great box lunches, the sandwich, the soda, the Lorna Doones. I can't eat Lorna Doones to this day because of that. But every night we had that as a meal.
A little packet of mustard.
You got it right. with the soggy sub.
That whole experience really built on I think the larger cadet experience that everybody, you always have, regardless of whether you knew somebody in your class or not, right? They went to West Point. There was a common experience that they had with you, and then within that we had this microcosm of a team of guys that you knew were going through the same stuff as you. You were, coming back from the field house, and January, February, it's dark, it's cold. The season seems like it's a year away, and you're eating box lunches and stuff. And it was all part of building that, I think, or building on the camaraderie that already existed.
Well,
But it was
talk a little bit about the cadet
incredible
experience, because not only were you collegiate athletes and baseball players, but also you were cadets at West Point. I had the benefit of Lawrence and I were in the same company, so I actually knew Lawrence back in the day. I used to watch him try to march. You know what?
Yeah.
He set a standard that we all could follow.
You remember Captain Branch?
I think you got it, but it's the only time I had to walk the area. I think.
What was the story? What happened?
Every Corps Guard trip you take, right? You line up there in front of the duty officer or whatever, so you always go through an inspection. And I got tagged one time with hair, and I usually had pretty long hair.
Yeah.
Anyway, touching or over the ears or whatever, and sure enough, got written up and was on the area. I think the next weekend or whenever I could get onto the area. I think 4 hours. That's
so like not knowing there was a baseball team. You're like, what is this? What is this area thing?
You guys remember Captain Branch, who was kind of our team officer or whatever? He was my TAC. And so we were having an inspection just, 1 in the morning, and he goes by me, looks at my shoes. He goes, "Nice shoes for a baseball player." He walked away. Thanks a lot. Nice shoes for a baseball player.
Mike Spurr, you were absolutely a force of nature during Beast, because if you remember, I'm sure you do remember, all the upperclassmen would make you shout things because of your accent, which.
Oh yeah, I don't have an accent.
Remember that?
I know you guys. Oh, yes, you do. I still, I know.
I know. What was your cadet experience like, Karl? What in terms of was it because you went on to distinction in the Air Defense Artillery branch? You and I hung out over the Desert Storm a while, so you were downrange, and that's where I remember going over to visit you at Desert Storm, where you were set up in some sort of little headquarters there, and you had all the amenities, and I didn't have any of them, so I just go over there and hang out with you a little bit.
So, I would say that my cadet experience the first 2 years, I would say, were disruptive to my baseball career. I was sort of preoccupied and sort of focused on the pain of the cadet experience and the academics, and I don't think I concentrated as much as baseball. And maybe that might be my priorities wrong. Maybe I should have been, focused on baseball and not the cadet life. But then as we got into the upperclassmen and things calmed down, our yearling and first year, or our cow and first year, things settled in a little bit more, and I was more focused on baseball and just doing what we had to do over for the cadet stuff. So, yeah.
And then how did they handle, because I want to hear everyone's story on this, things like cadet rank. So we all had to have some form of responsibility. So like Mike Spurr, what rank did you have outside of baseball? Did you have any? How did that work for you?
What do you mean, as a cadet?
Yeah, as a firstie.
My highest rank was a lieutenant. They made, a lieutenant. They made me the senior year, spring season to make it easier, or fall season to make it easier. I mean, that was the highest rank I had with brigade, battalion S4. Okay. But on the team,
battalion S4, that's good. I mean, that's a Yeah, but Mike Scanlin, you had a slightly different track because you weren't on the baseball team the other senior year. How'd that work with you with rank?
I was senior year fourth reg honor representative.
Ah,
So yeah, so I'm the honor committee, a lieutenant at the
yeah,
time,
right.
and yeah,
PJ Gross, our
and
honor captain, just lives right down the road here.
absolutely,
I
yeah, he's
believe
good. Oh, in Summit, right? Are you in Summit?
I'm down in South Carolina right now, but and PJ's down in
Ah,
Pawleys. And what cadet rank did you hold as a firstie?
I was I guess it was lieutenant. I was the XO of our company.
Okay.
So yeah, that was quite the experience.
Yeah. Well, XO's a good position because I held it as well. So, and Lawrence, I can't recall what you did as a firstie in terms of rank. Did you do? Remind me.
I can't either. I don't remember having too much responsibility within the company. I do remember what year, maybe yearling or Cal, being a squad leader. I thought that was pretty formative,
Yeah.
just the first time being in charge of a few people, especially, a few plebes on the squad, and just learning through that development opportunity, how to treat them. Yeah, I wasn't a, hair on fire, raise hell kind of a guy. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that was a good experience for me. But senior year, I don't remember doing a lot in the company as far as leadership goes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny remembering that. You do that so many times. I was, I like to say, you guys talk about you played baseball, and I respect that, but I marched at a D1 school. Nobody can take that away from
There
me.
you go.
yeah.
Nice.
Nobody can take that away from me. But you do that parade so many times when they put you in front, you're in charge, and you actually panic. You're like, oh, I might actually blow this, right? But Taps, what rank did you have at this as a senior?
Yeah, I know. I first semester I was a cadet sergeant. I don't think I even
Yeah.
did anything. And then second semester I was a lieutenant. I was a company XO. But fortunately, Freddie Manzo was a company commander, and Pete Curran was around. Barry Keller. So they're like, just go play baseball. You don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
We'll take
Okay.
care of it. I roomed with Freddie, and I didn't do much. But I was the company XO. Yeah.
All right, there you go. So you still had the leadership experience, whether squad leader up through
Yes.
to XO or
Sure.
regimental honor rep or those kind of things. Spurr was the high flyer up on regimental staff or battalion staff. Man,
Yes.
Just to get me out of the way. That's all that was.
nicely
Put
done.
up the table listing and go freaking play baseball. Get
Nicely done.
him out of the way.
What?
I remember opportunities that were created for us to play baseball at certain times of the year, especially like during the summer, right? I remember being out at Camp Buckner and then being picked up, two or three of us, I think, being picked up to go play a game in the local area against a local semi-pro team or something
Really?
where we could stay engaged playing baseball throughout the year.
So I was talking to Danny Stredler, he was talking about the football team. They used to have lots of like little impromptu film sessions. You guys, how did they make up? What kind of things did they do? Like that semi-pro opportunity there in the summer. What other things did you guys do to kind of keep yourself baseball focused when you weren't in the middle of the season? How did you keep fit off season? It was a different time back then in terms of the technology and how people approached it.
Yeah, I think we started weightlifting like sophomore year. I don't remember doing it as a freshman, but we also had, I think junior year we did aerobics with one of the instructors there. Yeah, that was a sight to see. You used to talk about some uncoordinated 22-year-olds or 20-year-olds or whatever. It was there.
Aerobics. I can only imagine this group on this call doing aerobics. That's great.
I passed some of my time away on area. That was
Well,
keep those legs toned.
Well,
yes.
that's one way to do it. What were you on the area for? Were you a troublemaker?
It was all in good fun. All in good fun. So it was the night before we played Rutgers football, senior year. And we had this yearling in our class come up to us and say, hey, to me and Terry Finley, we're walking back from the movie, and she says, "Are you going to the, the pep rally?" And we're like, "Pep rally? Come on, give us a break. Just have fun." And, oh, you firsties have you know, no sense of pride and all the stuff. So me and Finns look at each other. We go inside and we decide that since the band, the big pep rally's out in Fourth Reg, in the Lost
Yeah.
50s. The band's up
Yeah.
there, the lights are shining, everybody's there. And me and Finn decide we're going to, sneak in the back bathrooms with, and do some jockstrap rockets.
Yeah.
So we had our mesh laundry bags over our heads. And it worked like a charm. We are out there. The fans are eating it up. I mean, the soup and his wife, the superintendent of the French military academy and his wife were
Eating it
there,
up.
Yeah.
and we're like flawlessly pulling these rockets off with mesh bags on our head. And
They took issue
the
with that?
mistake was going back for the encore.
Yeah.
We made it out. We made it out safe the first time.
Yeah.
It's that second time when the staff duty officer caught us.
Yeah.
Heck, like who on this call besides myself has ever stood at attention in a jock strap and a mesh bag on their head while the
Can't say
staff
I
duty
have,
officers?
Scans.
Hey, my private life is none of your business.
so yeah, I mean the way that whole thing ended was me in front of then Major Mike Bingham, who used to be my TAC officer, Captain Bingham, great man. Getting my regimental board and him, discussing what my disciplinary tours were going to be, and he said, "Mike, I just want you to know that the superintendent and his wife and the superintendent of the French military academy and his wife were not offended by your actions.
Nice.
If they were, your discipline, your tours would be a lot more than you're about to get." So I think I kind of got off easy for the most part. 25 and 20.
Ooh.
Sat him, worked him in the.
That's a respectable slug, though. That's respectable.
So,
you can hold your head up with
that. And the finish to that all was come spring when we're taking batting practice, and I'm on second base. Coach Roberts walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, Scans, Mr. Ulrich asked me to talk to you about this." But it's like, don't do it again, okay? I'm like, "You got it, Coach." Good times. Good times with
that's what you get hanging out with Finley.
I know.
You know what would have been good for him? Now, Colonel Bingham, he retired as a colonel, but captain. I was in C4 as a plebe, so I know many of the similar folks.
Yeah.
And when we do the CNQ podcast, for some reason, Colonel Bingham comes up all the time because one of our classmates married his daughter. He was a great TAC and very well loved. So I could totally see Colonel Bingham doing that. But a good response could have been, "Sir, we were shamed into it by a yearling," right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that would have went over big. Thanks,
Mike,
Paul. I'll remember that next
time. Well, for the next one. Mike Spurr, you kind of come off as a guy who got in a lot of trouble, but like, what was your area tour situation?
I only had one. I was late to one class. I had 5 hours. That was it. Yeah, I managed to just kind of slide through the cracks. I guess.
Clean. Good for you.
Yeah, and a couple of times me and Schiavo took a piss off a wall after a company party. And they wanted to write us up for it, but it was such a great party. They called it, group, whatever. It was a good bonding experience. They said, don't ruin it. Don't write them up. So I avoided that one. So, 5 hours.
Oh, that's impressive. I mean, the way you came shooting out of things as a plebe, we thought, sure, you're going to be one of the centurymen, but you cleaned it right up.
I got lucky.
Carl, how about you? Were you, other than the hard tags, were you pretty much straight air? How'd you do on discipline?
Yeah, it was. I only did 4 room tours for a subdiver card infraction.
Yeah,
I didn't mark my card right on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And the caught it, and so I ended up with room tours for a Saturday. Had to sit inside for a while.
So area tours, John. How many area tours did you have?
I just got one slug. And I don't remember what it was for. It was being late for class, not doing homework. I don't remember what it was, but just one.
Yeah.
And that was, we had the benefit of sitting and multiplying it by 3 or 4 or whatever that was.
Right.
So I just sat for a couple weekends.
Fair enough. I'm so gratified. I feel like I found my people because I had 4 tours the whole time I was there. Tony Fields, who was attacked for Lawrence and I was late for a class, and he said, technically I don't need to give you tours. He says, but you got to have the cadet experience. So get out there and march some tours. And so
Nice.
He says, I see you, LaFontaine. You stay off the radar. I'm going to put you on the radar. You're going to get some tours. Right? So that was all I had. So I get on here. I talk to some of these classmates. They, I had 80 hours. I had 100 hours. I'm like, man, oh man. So anyway, but if you hang out with Finley, you get 20 hours as a minimum. That's the best part of the problem. So let's talk about Army baseball legacy a little bit. How does the team? So everyone talks about the team with the funny ball, right? But how does the team support it now? How do you guys raise money? Is there how does that work for the baseball team in terms of the legacy for the program? I saw a picture on Facebook of you guys back there for one of the events and taking part. What's the deal on that?
It seems like in recent years, as the program has really achieved a lot of success, right? That not only on the field but off the field too. They're really developing the program, I think, to get all of these, past classes, even those of us and before us that never really achieved much success, involved in the program now.
Right.
Good to see.
And so the way West Point works is the government gives a basic level of budget, and then donations from graduates actually make things like indoor weight facilities are actually all donations, for example, because the government's not going to stump up money for that. What are the types of things the baseball team takes advantage of if you guys give money through the 413Cs? Good for you.
They've done a lot. They've done a lot over the years. Back when we played 35, 40 games in the spring. I mean, they're playing 60, 70, 80 games. We went on one spring trip for a week. They're on 2 or 3 trips down south for them.
Right.
We set the record for Army wins that year with a 38, 39 game schedule because somebody canceled. So we set that record. We had more games. We could have won a heck of a lot more.
That's great. I think we're of the year groups now that the legacy piece is kind of ours to lead on now, right? So regardless of program. So I know the Army football gets a lot of the press, but really baseball. I assist on the academic side, because the academic folks need it too. So it's good stuff. Is there any Army baseball story we have not told that if we hung up right now, you guys go, oh, we didn't tell the one about?
Yeah, I want to
tell
playing
the pro teams.
Yeah.
Those guys
talk about that.
Darryl Strawberry, right? Everybody knows who Darryl Strawberry is, right? And so the Mets come down to play us, and Jimmy Kitts is on the mound, left-handed pitcher, and he throws a pitch into Darryl Strawberry, who rips a line drive about 18 inches off the ground, straight back against his shin, right? And Jimmy Kitts goes down on the mound. And I don't know if he stayed in the game or whatever, but Strawberry goes down to first base. And I'm playing shortstop, and the next batter comes up, and Strawberry's still second base. And I was looking at him from first base, and he took only 3 strides at first slide.
That's my story. I was shading the bag to cover. He beat me to the bag, and I was 10 feet away. He literally was like a gazelle. It was like, whoo, 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 and he was freaking there. And I'm like, oh, my God. And then, of course, I'm like, how you doing?
Just the level of talent, it's just unbelievable.
It was fun.
I was at that game because Lawrence Tubbs, you told us all in the company, you guys want to come watch this. Darryl Strawberry's coming. He's going to be there. I was actually at that game. I don't remember those details, but he was, every time he got up, I think he hit a long shot. It was a foul ball, but he hit it over the library or something. It was astonishing to watch. Right?
Phil Garner did that.
Lance Parrish, the Tigers. Yeah, didn't Lance Parrish do it too with an aluminum bat and he hit it over?
Yeah.
Remember, he said, "Let me use your aluminum bats," and then he hit it up on top of the hole.
Yeah.
So, what was the story with Douglas MacArthur's? Was it his wife?
One of my most fond memories is we were playing Navy, and they always had somebody throw out the first pitch. And one year it was, and it may have been most years, it was General MacArthur's wife, and it was such a neat thing, living history. And she would sit there and she would tell us little stories about my Dougie, which to me just blew my mind. That's the guy who's got the statue. It's her Dougie.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would sign on. She would take pictures with all of us. And one time, the camera wasn't there. I don't remember what it was, but they took a picture and it was like, oh, it didn't work. So I ran behind everybody. It was first in line, and then I became last in line, and she had no concept that she was doing pictures with me twice or whatever. But I really cherished that picture, and I lost it, and I don't know where it is, and I wish I could find that picture because that was such a neat thing.
That's a slice of history there.
Yeah, absolutely. Living history.
Yeah.
I get a perfect 4.0 grade for average, like my Dougie. Hold on, man. You're really stretching it here now.
And just a quick comment to these guys. Sure. I was at Army Navy last weekend and ran into John Fritchman's wife at the tailgate.
Fritchie.
And which immediately made me think about you guys going to his wedding and what his brother can do with a stream of. Is it ringing any bells now? Walking under a golden arch.
Oh my goodness.
You may have to cut this part.
Yeah,
out.
you just took the entire thing about how serious you all were about baseball, and now there's a golden arch involved, and it's not McDonald's.
It's not McDonald's. No, he was there. I didn't end up catching up with him, but because I heard her. Yeah. So I figured you guys would appreciate because he stayed on as grad assistant, right? Our fall.
Is that right?
Yeah. I remember him with 1,000 push-ups a day or something. He was on that kick doing like 1,000 push-ups a day or something ridiculous number.
Yeah, experience.
I tell you what, baseball was my sport growing up, and so I really appreciate you guys for having been baseball players at Army. It's my pleasure to have the very first Core Squad podcast for the class of '86 be about the baseball team. It was an absolute pleasure to have all you guys on. Great to see all of you, and thanks so much for joining.
Likewise, Paul.
Thanks so much. Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas, boys. Love you guys. Be safe.
Love you guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Courage Never Quits podcast, where any member of the class of 1986 who is willing to tell their story will be a guest. To get the word out and stay up to date on the latest episodes, hit the like and subscribe button. With over 900 living graduates, we have a lot of stories to tell, and you don't want to miss any of them. We'll see you in the next episode.